Being scared to death by demonic DLC. Here's your spooky spot on the Funko Five Nights at Freddy, The Curse of Dreadbear, Jacko Bonnie. Being an orange and rotund creature, even you are surprised that you can sneak up on anybody. How do you not hear the rotten chunks of your squash body falling off? Ah well, a win is a win. Hey, try to keep it together now. Before we get a closer look at the Funko Five Nights at Freddy Jacko Bonnie, let's grab the tape measure just to see how tall the figure stands. Now, I actually did find this at Walmart. I was only the most interested in getting Jacko Bonnie, but if you guys certainly like to see the rest of the Curse of Dreadbear, let me know down below in the comments section. In the meantime, though, taking the creepy tape measure up to the top of the ears of Bonnie, you're looking at the figure standing about 5 3/4 of an inch tall, or about 14 centimeters in height. The Curse of Dreadbear was a 2019 add-on pack that was released in 2019. I think it was October 25th or 23rd, 2019, which was basically an add-on expansion pack to the existing Five Nights at Freddy. Of course, one of the figures that we will be looking at from the Curse of Dreadbear DLC is Jacko Bonnie, which essentially is Bonnie here done as more of a jack-o'-lantern. It's neat in the sense that Funko designed the character based, of course, on the original DLC pack, but it has some interesting translucent bits to it. I wasn't kidding, though, at the beginning of this review where I said keep it together. This figure has some serious issues staying together. But in the meantime, let's actually pick it up and have a closer look at it. One thing, again, I like really about this is the fact that they did make use of a translucent orange plastic. It's translucent in the orange plastic in the torso, in the lower underroo area, and of course the face. The face looks really neat the way they've incorporated not only that translucent plastic, but then gone ahead and painted over top of it. So you've got these slimy little parts of orange dripped on top of the front of it. Got a sort of more of a light arid source of white, or more of a yellow. And then you've got the black panel lining here with some really sharp silver teeth added in there as well. The only thing that's really missing from having this being even cooler of a figure is not incorporating a light source. It would have been neat if they had found some way to incorporate a tiny little button battery and found a way to actually light this up. Of course, the price point on these figures would have increased that much more, but I think it would have looked that much cooler, that much more eerie to have Bonnie illuminate in the head and in the body. Like I said, the problem with the figure, and I haven't not picked up the other Curse of Dreadbear figures, so I can't say whether they all have this same issue, but Bonnie has a real tough time, like I said, keeping it together. The problem with this figure, not so much in the head is on a very good ball joint. We're going to talk more about the articulation on the head and the rest of the body in a moment. The problem is when it comes to these arms, though, and the legs, what they've done is they've attached the arms with socket joints. Normally, a socket joint around a ball joint would be completely enclosed. I don't know if you can see it right now. It's less enclosed, and it's actually more the shape of a C. It's easy to snap onto the ball joints, so if any of these parts fall off, like at the beginning of this video when I was doing the unpacking of this, you notice like the arm and I think the leg left behind. Easy to, again, snap back into place. But any little bit of movement, these arms fall off way too frequently. And what they've done, unfortunately, is they've used that same ball joint system with everything that's on the figure's body, short of the head, short of the waist. Everything else, like its legs, for example, all work on the same socket system. So you might find yourself, if you are picking up this figure, things just randomly, as you're moving it around, falling off. Little too much for my liking. I'm going to, again, talk more about that more in a moment. Again, I really like the paint, and even though they've really only just used it, I mean, they didn't paint anything here on the back of the figure, but you can kind of see some neat-looking sculpt work here. Just the decaying-looking body looks awesome. But just think of how much cooler this would look if they had found a way to put a light source in there. You can also see as well inside of this, being that it's sort of like amber, you can see like the way they've actually pegged in the body, like almost like a little frame. You can see there's the ball joints on either side of it. And like the inside doesn't look like there's much of anything. So there probably would have been a space, I think, to put in a battery source, but we're going to stop talking about that because the figures on these, I think, are about $15 a piece. The moment you start putting battery power in there to illuminate anything on this figure, of course, the price point is going to jack up by at least $5 or $10 more. I do also like the way they've added both the orange plastic for the majority of the arms, the legs, and of course the ears on the head sculpt here. But they've also added this nice black added in there as well. There's torn away parts that you can see not only are just painted, but they've also sculpted it so that it looks like it's chunks of the figure's body pulled away. Again, the only thing I really don't like about the figure is the way the figure keeps together, or lack thereof it. You can see as well that while one of the foot is still somewhat intact, the other part of the foot, the fur, has gone completely away, leaving behind the more mechanical body frame underneath it. Really neat the way they've designed this. But let's talk about the articulation now. Let's see if we can get through this and survive successfully. I didn't have a great go with even keeping this figure. Like I said, anytime I move anything on him, poor Bonnie just falls apart. So looking at the articulation here for Bonnie, the head's fine. Don't have really any issues with the head. The head is secure enough onto the ball joint so you can move the head back and forth. And like I said, you can have it looking up, you can have it looking down. No issues whatsoever. I thought perhaps the ears would be something that would be articulated, and that sadly is not the case. We can't move the ears back and forth at all. They're pretty much stationed and attached to the figure's head. Now for the arms, here we go. The arms, first of all, are really loose. It probably doesn't help. I may be able to add a little bit of nail polish or floor polish to that to thicken up the ball joint. Maybe that's really one of the issues too. The socket, I think, is maybe just a little bit too big for the joint. So when you put it on, it doesn't stay properly in place. So, okay, so you can get the arms at a 90-degree angle bend. Not a problem there. But when you start rotating the arm around, forget about it. That's when the arm just pops right off. So yeah, you can move it back and forth, but moving it right off, why did they have to go with C cups? They should have used actually instead circular, full circle cups. It's just not going to stay on the figure well at all. And again, the same thing is going to be for the forearm. So when you're rotating the arm this way, you kind of have to hold everything as you're doing it. If you leave it off and just rotate it on its own, then the arm just pops off on its own. Well, it doesn't really pop off on its own. It pops off when I'm moving it. Hands don't have an issue, though. They seem to just be pegged in place. Really like, again, the detailing that they've done to it with all these little parts at the ends of the figures sticking out from the fur. That looks cool. Nothing stays together. Waist swivels, no real issues there. And again, when you get in the legs, it's just basically a repeat nightmare from what we got with the arms. The legs move forward and back and out. They almost seem to do a better job of staying in place. Again, you can rotate it, but it's just gonna, yeah, I know. Knees back and forth, they do bend. You can also rotate the lower leg. And there doesn't seem to be any articulation for the feet. It almost looks as if the way they cut into it, that you'd be able to independently rotate the feet, but not the case. Not the case at all. It's a neat looking figure. I mean, the more reasoning why I wanted to pick up this figure, of course, to celebrate Spottober, as we're getting really near the end of it. They did actually have the rest of the other 3 figures over at Walmart. They actually had a big displayer of it. I might even consider going back. I know I don't do a lot of Five Nights at Freddy. The whole real reason why I wanted to look at this figure, first of all, is because it's called Jacko Bonnie. Went perfectly with Spottober. But I might find myself, despite what problems and flaws this figure has with its posability, I might very well go back and have a look at the other 3 if that's something you guys would certainly like to see. Yes, as flawed as Jacko Bonnie may be when it comes to the way the figure was assembled, I actually kind of like the look of it. It's neat. It's slimy. It's certainly something that goes hand in hand with Halloween. The other 3 figures, by the way, were Dreadbear, Grim Foxy, and Glitch Trap. Again, let me know down below in the comment section if you would like to see all the rest of those figures reviewed. The one that had the most Halloween feel to it, even though they're all from the same DLC, Curse of Dreadbear, was Jacko Bonnie, and that was the real reason why I wanted to pick it up. If you can overlook the flaw, the way they've actually built and constructed the figure, it's actually kind of a neat looking figure. I kind of wish in a way there could have had some illumination. Because, of course, if you're going to be using a translucent body like this, why not have the opportunity to have the head and the body light up? But I know, again, when it comes to stuff like this, these are geared towards kids, and then by adding extra batteries and light sources, you're, of course, going to increase the price of it. The price of these already. We're about $14, $15. Very manageable. If you're a fan of Five Nights at Freddy, or again, just on an impulse like myself, if you happen to spot one of these at stores, it's a great figure to pick up if you can overlook the flaws that it has. Again, let me know down below in the comments section what you guys think of this, and if you've had the chance to pick up any of the 4 figures from the DLC Curse of Dreadbear. Also, as well, if you enjoyed this spooky video, hit it with a like. If you're loving the content you're seeing, and certainly do want to stick around for more, because we still have a lot more. Well, not a lot more. There's about a handful more videos that we're going to be looking at during Spottober. I think this year, if you don't mind me saying, 2022 Spottober, I think, has the most videos we've ever looked at over the span of October. I don't know how I was able to cram as much in. I might even overlap. I already know by now. At the time I'm recording this, it's the weekend. Monday is Halloween. I think we're going to be overlapping a bit for the 2022 spooky spots. But certainly if you guys are a fan of the spooky spots, stay tuned because there's definitely still going to be more coming your way. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.